All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Daily December 2019, day 3. Yesterday, I talked about a few things you can use for inspiration if you don't know what to film. And one of the first things I mentioned was DnDecember, which is basically just all these little prompts to inspire writing and art and anything else around D&D themes. And so today I actually wanted to use one of those themes, not because I don't have other ideas, because I do and have more stuff I want to do about inviting more people to do daily December, but this particular prompt um, is has inspired a story that I've wanted to tell for a long time, and I just don't think I've ever had the chance to do it. So, excuse me. I love root beer. So the prompt for today is level 10. And specifically, D&D December has this kind of expanded prompt. Each adventurer grows and changes along their journey. 10th level brings more power, but also more challenges. How do your heroes appear at level 10? How did they get to where they are now? And this inspired me to talk about the first character I ever got to level 10, and really the first character I got to play long term, which is my wood elf shadow monk, Aether. Um, if you guys have heard me talk about D&D before, you'll know that monks are my favorite class. And I actually did the playtest of D&D 5e back when it was called D&D Next. And the first time I got to play was actually at Gen Con. I think the year after it was first announced, because the playtest went on for a couple years. But anyway, so my first character was a monk, and I loved it. And I've played monks in earlier editions on computer and stuff like that. I love monks. They're very cool characters. So years and years and years ago, back during the first, I think it was either the first or the second season. Yeah, it was this second season of the D&D Adventures League, Elemental Evil. I had started getting more active in the D&D community. I was actually running the D&D Wednesday night encounters group at my friendly local game store. And they had flyers for a local convention that was just starting out. I believe it was in its second year, for first or second. And they were asking for dungeon masters to help. They wanted to run Adventure League stuff, and they needed dungeon masters to run it. And most importantly, they offered a free badge if you ran a set number of games. And I was thrilled, and so I contacted the organizer, and I didn't hear back for a little bit because I was told to contact another person. I contacted the convention, and they told me to talk to their D&D rep, basically. And this was back when the D&D Adventurers League had not only um, uh, regional coordinators, but they also had what were called local coordinators, which were just volunteers that worked with the Adventurers League and the staff to just spread AL info, get local gaming stores to start up events and stuff like that. Like, um, and so that was a bit. It was a lot of work to put it mildly. And at this point, I wasn't the local coordinator. They had a local coordinator that was supposed to be organizing all the AL stuff for the convention. He flaked out and just ghosted them. And so the head of the convention contacted me and said, "Hey, our guy just left. I've got no one to organize this. I already have a schedule, but literally no one to run games right now. I have a couple people that said they were interested, but I need someone to run this." And I jumped on. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." And so I organized it that year. I think I organized everything in less than a month. Which, if you've ever done convention work, that's a freaking miracle. And I got people to run tables in that. I think I was running two or three myself. And I met probably the most wonderful person I've ever met. He's still a very close friend now. His name is Connor. He actually runs his own charity convention now. And he is just an amazing dude. But that was where I first met him. And I first met a lot of my really close friends where I live. Anyway, convention comes, and I basically told them, if you want me running this, I need a hotel room. I was living about an hour away from where the convention was going to be. I didn't want to have to drive in every morning at 8 a.m. and then leave at about 2. Like, that wasn't. So I said, just give me a hotel room and I'll do it. And they did, and it was great. So every day I would come down around 7-ish, 30, to set everything up, get some breakfast, and then I would spend from 8 a.m. until around midnight or 2 o'clock, depending if I was running anything really late, in this room. I never left other than to go to the bathroom or get food. But I spent the entire time there to kind of walk around and make sure everything was working, to be there to answer any questions. And one of the other things I would do is, if a game didn't have enough people to play, I would recruit players. Like, I would literally just walk out and go, "Hey, we need another player for this game. You don't actually have to know anything. We'll teach you there. I just need another body for it, or we can't run the game." And what would invariably happen is there was, I think, 2 adventures that just couldn't run because we didn't have enough people. You need a minimum of 3. And so because I wanted to do this, I sat down at the table to play just so that they could play. Now it was a tier 2 adventure, so I couldn't just use a brand new character. What they used to have, and they still kind of have, but it's weird now, is if you ran adventures, you would get DM rewards from the Adventures League that you could use to build higher level characters. Like if you ran a certain adventure, you'd get like 1,000 experience points you could pump into a character. And so I had been running a lot, not only at the convention but also at my home store. So they said, well, you need a character, and I just pooled all my DM experience and made a 5th level Way of the Shadow monk that I called Aether. I'm just like, that's cool, and I came up with a real quick backstory. I had created a more advanced version of Aether as a character that if Matt Mercer had ever wanted me to join Critical Role, because that totally happens, I would have this character ready. So I'd come up with like the idea of the character a little before that. But I actually built him as a level 5 character, and I got to sit down and play, and I had a blast. And then the next game, they didn't actually need another player, but I just played with half the table. I said, well, come on, you're not running anything, just play with us. And my character died and had to get reincarnated because a Yeti threw me off a 200-foot cliff. But I got to play that character for well over 2 years. And any time I could, I would just bring him back. And I had a lot of fun with him. It's where I got most of my understanding of how to play a monk, was just from playing it over and over again, all the way from level 5 all the way up to level 17 is where I eventually couldn't play him anymore, because they don't write tier 3 or tier 4 adventures for the Adventures League anymore. So he's effectively just unable to play. So anyway, as far as level 10 goes, as he got higher and higher, I started just having more fun with him, and I had friends whose characters that we had played together, and I started developing these quirks. Like, one of the things Aether does is he is an assassin for hire. He alignment-wise, he was chaotic good, because he didn't really, the chaotic part was he didn't really follow general rules. Like, he had no problem killing people, killing unarmed people. Like, that wasn't really his thing. But the good aspect of it was he did what he thought was best for society as a whole. So he had his own like set of rules that he would follow, but they didn't really conform to any really set of rules. So it was a weird version of chaotic good, but I like playing him. And one of the things that just came out of nowhere is I wrote that he had these little wooden coins that he'd carved symbol into, and anytime he took a job, he would place one into the palm of his hand, grasp the person hiring him, shake their hand, and then go, by exchanging this token, I accept your request. When I return for it, I expect payment. And that's how every adventure started. It started as just a weird quirk, and it just kept going, and it turned into a really big thing for him. So by the time he was level 10, he was a really, well-developed character, and he was starting to do cool things. Like, I could run up vertical surfaces, and I could teleport all over, and I had a belt of dwarven kind, and trident of warning, so nothing could surprise me. And he was so much fun. And he started literally as a character I needed to make in about 5 minutes, so that a game could go on at a convention I was helping to run. It's been years since I've worked with that convention due to health problems. And the funny thing, and if you guys are interested, I'll tell this story later on, After I did the convention, Connor was a local coordinator for a different state, and he would come up uh, with a bunch of DMs to help us out. But he got me in contact with the regional coordinator, and I became a local coordinator, I think, for like 6 months. And I got fired from a volunteer position because, quite frankly, our regional coordinator was a moron. And like I said, if you guys are interested in the whole story of what a nightmare being a local coordinator was, let me know in the comments, because I think the majority of the bridges in those relationships have been burned already. So I have no problem just completely shitting on just really stupid people that almost tanked the Adventurers League to the point where they all got fired because of how bad they were doing. And now the Adventurers League is actually run by Wizards of the Coast and only has, I think, 6 or 8 people that actually work for it. Yeah, that's partially because the regional coordinators, not all, but a few of them were just complete morons that didn't understand how leadership worked. Anyways, so yeah, that was Aether. By the time he got to level 10, the fun thing in the Adventurers League, you could use the downtime days to jump from level 4 to 5, so you could get into tier 2, and you could do it again from level 10 to 11 to get into the tier 3 stuff. So technically, as soon as my character hit level 10, I jumped into level 11 again to play in an adventure that needed another person. So I actually skipped level 10. But I played a lot of level 9, and then I, again, leveled him all the way up to 17. So I played him a lot. Again, I played him for 2 or 3 years. And loved him to death. I still have the character sheet and everything. I could still, if I wanted to, I could still pick him up and play him if anyone wanted to run tier 4 content. I think there was like 3 or 4 tier 4 adventures that were written for previous seasons, and then they gave up on that and did this new thing where you're required to build a new character every season, because that went over well. But anyway, that's my story of Aether. You know, my Shadow Monk. I recreate him in just about every RPG I play now. Even if I never actually play the character, whether it's a computer game or whether it's a tabletop, I will go through and find a way to make Aether again, just because of how much I love the character. And actually, my Final Fantasy 14 character is named Aether. He started as a pugilist, which eventually turns into a monk, and then went rogue and ninja before turning into a Dark Knight and then a gunbreaker. So, yeah. In the comments below, again, if you'd like to hear more Adventure League local coordinator horror stories, let me know in the comments below. I'm glad to speak about them now that enough time has passed that I'm not going to get people in trouble that I like. And do you personally have a character that you took from like level 1 or level 5 or whatever, and leveled, played them enough to get them through quite a few levels and just get to know them? and made it to level 10. Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if this stuff excites you, if you think this is a cool thing that I do, you can do it too. We recently had Brian Pulver has started doing the daily December on his phone. If you want to join in, reply to my tweets on Twitter. I will retweet your video so other people can see it, and just try it out. It's fun. I've got lots of advice for doing it in the first 2 videos. So anyway, that's all for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.